ladies and gentlemen, for the first time ever, coming to you live, 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth, brought to you by Ken and Andrew Straub. I'm Ken Straub. That's Andrew Straub. What's going on, little bro?
Nothing much. Enjoyed a very fun week of college football and soccer this weekend, and I'm ready to talk about this upcoming weekend.
Absolutely. Now, before we get there, I know we're not Dan Patrick, but we've been breaking a lot of news, okay? So everybody better watch out because this pod comes in and we break news. Not only is this guy with me going to be joining the podcast, you are now here with the newest member of the 216 Sports Network team, Andrew. How do you feel?
I feel blessed. This is a great opportunity. I love talking with you on a weekly basis about this because we talk about it literally every day. And so I hope we can continue to keep doing this,
Absolutely. It's from big bro to little bro, like I used to write on your Christmas presents. Now my present to you is to get in here and help me steer this ship. I'm older, so I'm driving, unless it's one of those weekends where I can't, and then you're driving.
Good call.
Ooh, too many ums already. All right. We ready to go?
Let's do it.
I got my popcorn ready. That's an actual Notre Dame popcorn container. All right, let's go. Weekend recap. The biggest game of the weekend was the best game of the weekend. Oregon, Washington, 36-33. Washington wins after Oregon misses a late field goal. You could argue there's some real bad play calling on Oregon's side, going for it on 4th down, missing. Washington scoring in 2 plays. We could go through some stats, but first, give me your quick thoughts first.
Michael Penix Jr.
Him.
Real deal. Absolutely great. Spoke in an interview before the game. I watched that. Super intelligent, reads the defense so well. And some of those passes, that accuracy is off the charts.
And was rapping on the sideline. Like, that's my guy.
Yes.
302 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. An amazing game. The least amount of yards he's thrown for all year. You wouldn't have known if you were watching that game. Dylan Thomas, 100 yards, 1 touchdown, average 5 yards a carry. Dunze and Polk, 128 and 118 yards receiving. They got it done. You could argue, though, Oregon, we were robbed of overtime. It was an amazing game. It was a great game. No complaints, but we were robbed of overtime. Kickers, do your job. No one is going to be more critical on kickers than this podcast right here, being that I played soccer in from as a young age and to travel to high school and to college. This man played his whole life. I trained him. Nobody is going to get on kickers more than us. So I'm sorry. Kickers, do your job. Includes you, Mr. 49ers. Except for your Brownies. So Oregon, Bo Nix, 337 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Didn't have a bad game, but definitely got outplayed by Michael Penix Jr. Agreed?
Yeah, I think so. And honestly, I don't think that was entirely on him. I think that they both did an outstanding job, and they were in great positions. At one point, Oregon had a 96.6% chance to win the game with like 2 minutes left. They had plenty of opportunities to seal the game out and then tie the game, and they outgained Washington 541 to 415 in terms of yards. It doesn't roll your way sometimes.
No, and I think and Bucky Irving, 128, 27 yards rushing. Troy Franklin, 154 yards receiving. So Oregon was moving the ball. I also think it's unfair. Yes, Bo Nix had an incompletion on that 4th down. It's not always fair to ask 20-something. And I know we do it in 2 years in the pros, but these kids are in college. Sometimes you take the decision and the playmaking out of their hands and you make the smart call. When college coaches are super aggressive, and that did not pay off for Oregon. Michael Penix Jr., Heisman frontrunner?
I would agree 1,000%, especially when we're going to talk about later. Some other contenders really struggled.
As we move on, Notre Dame, USC, my Fighting Irish, put it to USC and Caleb Williams, 48-20 in the rivalry game, the Battle of the Golden Shillelagh. Caleb Williams, arguably one of the worst games of his career, 199 yards passing, 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I would say so.
Sorry, but before we get on Caleb Williams, I have to give an outstanding round of applause to Xavier Watts. Had a day, had a season, had a career, 2 interceptions, a fumble return for a touchdown, and a forced fumble. I'm sorry, I cut you off to put more Irish. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, all I was going to say was, unfortunately, last week was somewhat of a, a fortune into this week, because he didn't play well last week, and he barely got by due to some really well-timed plays. But this week, he really didn't have any, and that was the whole gist of the offense for USC. 5 turnovers, back-to-back sloppy performances, and they got what they deserved here. And they have a really tough schedule down the stretch, so it's not looking much better.
No, it's very possible this USC team takes itself not only out of Pac-12 championship play, but possibly out of just a good bowl game altogether. I do want to point out Sam Hartman, no interceptions. Audric Estime, 22 carries, 95 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I don't like to make Super Bowl predictions, but I watch a lot of college football, and that's not to brag. That's because I do nothing else on Saturdays, and my fiance hates it. Audric Estime will play on Sundays. You're going to see him somewhere. I promise you that. Okay. Got to talk about our guy. All right, anything else you want to throw in about the USC Notre Dame game before we move on?
All I got to say maybe about Notre Dame, because I haven't touched on him yet, I would consider them, at least this season, the dictionary definition of an up and down team. You go and you play Ohio State, you play them really well. The offense, not great, but Ohio State's defense is good. A little boneheaded plays that cost you a game. But then you go to next week, you play a close game against Duke. You beat them, though. You play really well, and you're like, okay, let's get some momentum going. And then you play terribly against Louisville. And everyone thinks you're down. Everyone thinks, okay, this is how it normally is. And then you blow out a team in USC that obviously, maybe isn't playing as well as they normally are, but still playing incredibly well. And so it's very hard to really lock down this team.
You hit the nail right on the head. Listen, I'm going to give my team the love, but I'm going to give them some X. Absolutely up and down. My Coach Freeman is still figuring out, how to be the head ball coach. He's going to be a good one. I think he's going to be a great one. I think we'll win a national championship under Coach Freeman. Eventually. He's in year 2 of doing this himself. And I think sometimes it shows with the way this team emotionally gets up and down. And until he kind of, I think, has a larger senior group around him that can rally, and so he doesn't always have to, I think that will help. Let's move on. Notre Dame Homer podcast. Coach Prime. 46-43 lost to Stanford in double overtime. Stanford scored on 8 straight second half and overtime drives. Joshua Carty tied it in regulation, then won in double overtime after the Cardinals picked off Shedeur Sanders. Eliak and Aminor trying to practice that one. School record 294 receiving yards. Drew, talk to me.
As a Colorado team, this is the absolute worst thing that could have happened. You finally got that momentum back with that win against Arizona State. You're going into a really tough next 5 games in UCLA, Oregon State, Arizona, Washington State, and Utah, where you needed that momentum coming in, and you had it in the first half. You were rolling, you were going, everything was going right. And then maybe due to confidence, maybe due to just Stanford figuring it out, it just the complete opposite, completely 180. And now you're going into that rough schedule on a really bad loss and very low confidence.
We're Coach Prime Pro. I'd say that every week, but that's not good. And the haters love this one for sure. Travis Hunter, I do want to point out, finally returned from a lacerated liver. 13 catches for 140 yards, 2 touchdowns, 5 tackles. Great to have him back. Shedeur Sanders, 400 yards passing, 5 touchdowns. I want to throw out his stats for the year. 2,420 yards, 21 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 71.9 QBR, 34th in the nation. Coach Prime's kid or not, he's playing on Sundays.
Yeah, even if
I also
he
want to
doesn't
point
think
out,
he's
though,
going to play now.
right. I also want to point out, though, the problem going on for Colorado right now, 17 penalties for 127 yards. However, that's a roster that is completely flipped over. So I'm not surprised. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not surprised that when you turn over that many guys, you're not completely on sync. I don't see a lot of boneheaded plays from them. It's not like guys are getting thrown out and ejected. So it's not like they've been. I know all penalties are stupid penalties to coaches. I understand that, but I'm just saying. So yeah, they'll be back. No worries. No worries. Coach Prime, we believe in you, man. Other notable results. Let's take just a quick run around the country. My Oregon State Beavers beat up on UCLA 36-24. Number 11, Alabama survives Arkansas 24-21. Number 4, Florida State beat Syracuse 41-3. Number 7, Penn State wins big and covers 63-0. I know, give me the look. I understand. Number 10, North Carolina downs Miami 41-31. I don't like to call people the FRAUD word, but Pitt takes down number 21 Louisville 38-21. And Tennessee survives Texas A&M 20-13. I told you that game would be close. All right. You ready for him? Head slaps. You first.
Yeah, a couple head slaps. Kansas, the offense kept up like I said it would. I also just didn't expect them to give up 15 straight unanswered points to lose the game at the end.
I want to point out right there, everyone points out the age difference that you would ever put Kansas football in anything good, but go ahead.
Obviously, not a great time there. What we touched on before, Louisville, I don't know what happened there. It was the complete opposite of how they played last week. Just unmotivated, just didn't look great at all against a very bad Pitt team that I'm a UC fan. We beat and we're not good at all. And so that wasn't great.
Remember, when he says we, he means the University of Cincinnati. He just likes to throw that we out there without reminding anyone. Mine's a little bit more obvious. There's your Bearcat in the background.
Mine's in the background.
There it is.
And my last head slap is Notre Dame. And that's kind of a positive because I did not think that they were going to come to play against USC. And they showed out. And I'm very impressed.
Absolutely. Yes, they did. Listen. So I'm going to start with my betters. I'm sorry. I told you to sprinkle Maryland in. We were close. And once again, a kicker didn't do his job. That's a theme this week. But yeah, sorry about Maryland. I'm sorry about Louisville. And I'm sorry. I didn't think Penn State was going to. I thought Penn State was looking ahead to Ohio State 63-0. Penn State, you deserve all your love. Chest bumps. Go ahead. Talk your talk.
Yeah. I think my biggest one, was Duke. A lot of people were very scared when their starting quarterback came out. He is still questionable day to day going into this week, but that defense balled out. They had an interception. They held the leading rusher to 38 yards on 14 carries and completely waxed them. And I think that was a great win for them, especially coming into this week. My other big chest bump, Oregon State. DJ cannot pronounce his last name and will not try to. Came through again, 266 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a great win.
Chest bumps. I mean, hello. I told you Oregon State in the points. I gave you that. If you added other things in, I do apologize, but I gave you that one. Oregon and Washington, the over of 67.5. I gave you that hammer that way. The big dogs taking care of biz. They did. Some of them were close, but for the most part, they did. Your Alabama's, your Florida State, your Michigan, all around. Colorado. Here's why Colorado gets a chest bump. Anything that is positive on the bet slip is good for me and it accounts for you. If you put a bet in for Colorado on Bet365, they paid out early, not only on your single parlays, single game and by themselves, and they paid it if you had them in with anyone else. So going into Saturday, even though they blew that game, You still have the green check for Colorado and you were good to go. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. I'm taking that one to the bank. Our upsets. We went 1-1. We both get us head slap for this one because both of us picked BYU over TCU. BYU threw a pick 6 on the first drive, and TCU didn't look back. They said thank you and took them out back and beat them 44-11. Thanks a lot. However, we got one. Bowling Green. Shout out to our Falcons coming through, beating Buffalo 24-14. Gotta have it. Love it. All right, let's move on. Obviously, we're getting very close to the end of the season. The rankings are coming soon. Let's start with ours. Our top 6. Drew, you first. Has your top 4 changed from last week to this week?
Just due to the fact that every team won by more than a touchdown, and then Oklahoma, cannot fault them for having a bye week. Nothing. My top 4 has not changed.
Okay. Your top 4 was?
Georgia, number 1. Obviously not a crazy win against Vandy, but a win nonetheless. More than a touchdown. Great there. Number 2, Michigan. Great win. Obviously, challenging for that 1 spot, but, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to Georgia. Number 3, Ohio State. Really proved, obviously, that Purdue team isn't, as an upset alert as they have in the previous years, but still a really good win on the road. And then number 4, Oklahoma on a bye week. Still a really good win against Texas, so I can't drop them because they didn't play anybody.
Okay. Now, we disagreed last week. Last week, I had Georgia, almost the same as you. I had Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and Florida State. I have the same top 4. They have changed orders. I still have Florida State at 4. I still have Ohio State at 2. Or I'm sorry, I still have Ohio State at 3. I have changed my top 2. I have Georgia at 2. I have the University of Michigan at number 1. Now, regardless of the breaking news that broke this morning about apparently them cheating and sending scouts to steal signs, hopefully they have enough footage for the next couple of games, because either way, they are absolutely dominating everyone. And they're doing it in such a fashion for me that, and this is the way I feel about this, the schedule is going to take care of itself. So, and it doesn't matter where we have Michigan. If Michigan wins out, they're in. They deserve it. If Michigan slips up, see ya. You don't have the schedule to back it up behind that. So I think that'll take care of itself. But I just, based on eye test, and I don't care. The committee does it too. They're the best team in the country. So I'm going to ride with that. My first 2 out are Washington and Oklahoma. Obviously, your first 2 out are?
Washington, number 5, who jumped out for a great win this week. And everyone else kind of bumped down. So Penn State's at your 6. And then Florida State, while a great win, bumps out and is just out of the top 6 right now.
Absolutely. And this weekend is going to take care of a lot of this for itself. It's really going to set most of this straight. We're going to know what's going on. Some other teams to watch for. I'm going to skip them first. Alabama is in at 11, and that's not the team we were going to skip. But Alabama is in at 11, watching everybody in front of them. Texas is at 8. That's it. Texas is at 8. They're both going to watch and hope that the Pac-12 and the Big Ten just eat each other alive. Both give each other 1 losses. And, one of my pre-season predictions was that Alabama gets into the top 4 with 1 loss. I got the loss. So we'll see where we go. Top games. Here we go.
Let's do it.
I mean, none bigger than the first one that we're going to talk about. We've been accused of not being pro on this team, but it is what it is. There's enough pro Ohio State podcast. Number 7, Penn State travels to Columbus to take on number 3, Ohio State. Ohio State is right now currently a -4.5 favorite. College game day comes to Columbus. This is Penn State's first real game, depending on how you feel about Iowa. Ohio State 6 wins in a row against Penn State. Andrew, what do you think?
I think this is by far your biggest game of the week. And I think if we're talking just inside the game, your biggest matchup, I think, comes in that Penn State secondary and that defense in general versus those Ohio State wide receivers, and more specifically Marvin Harrison Jr., where we can agree at least one of the top receivers in the NCAA, if not the best wide receiver in the NCAA.
Talent wise, it's without a doubt. Speaking of Marvin Harrison Jr., it's some homecomings for both teams. As mentioned last week by that guy, Drew Alar from Penn State is from Medina, Ohio, so he would be coming home. Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyle McCord both went to school in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, so a bit of homecomings to sort there. Like you said, Penn State defense is only averaging 8 points a game. Are they there? Are this is a real team? This is not UMass. This is not some other. So that's key there. I also think one of the bigger keys is actually the OSU defense. Can that defense keep the momentum and get the Buckeyes the ball enough so that they can get momentum? I don't believe, and prepare for a head slap if I'm wrong. Your offense usually takes a drive or two to get rolling, and I understand some teams come out and score and good, they're ready to go. But can this Ohio State offense maybe stall out the first draft, maybe get a field goal, maybe get rolling? And can the Buckeyes defense not allow that Penn State team to drive up and get some points? And all of a sudden you're playing from behind. I do not think Ohio State wants to do that, especially with a defense like this. You do not want, we see it every day. A team gets a lead and you can start doing different things. So I definitely think that is a very, very big one. Go ahead. Anything else?
Yeah, I think this game really reminds me of the Penn State-Ohio State game a couple years ago where they had Saquon Barkley, and first play of the game, he houses it on the kickoff. And I think, honestly, it's going to play out very similarly, at least in my head, where Penn State hits Ohio State in the mouth a little early, and Ohio State's going to have to come back. And I think that's where we're really going to see what happens.
Is that the last time Penn State won?
I think so, if I'm being honest. Well, no, they didn't even win that game because Ohio State came back and won that game.
And that's true. And Ohio State has won 6, looking for 6 to 7. Or, 6 in a row. I apologize. I had to scroll back up. That's my bad. Betting-wise, Penn State has covered 6 of 7 against Ohio State, so that minus 4.5. Mm-hmm. Ohio State is 2-7-1 against the spread against AP-ranked opponents since 2001. So, you got a prediction?
I think
I put you on the spot. I know.
No, you're good. I think Ohio State comes out of this a winner, but I think it's on a last-second field goal. And so I think Penn State covers, but I think Ohio State ends up winning this one.
Full honesty. Me and him share notes once we're done. What do I have? I like OSU, but I don't feel great about this. Okay? I like them to cover. I think 28-21, but man, I don't like this. Like, this smells awful. I think this is probably, like you said, a field goal game. I also think there's a very good opportunity that Penn State shows everybody that they're for real. So, and they better. Okay, moving on. Some would argue, who are not from the northern of the United States, like we are, that this is your biggest game of the weekend. Number 7 Tennessee goes into Alabama to face number 11 Alabama. The Tide opened up at 8.5-point favorites. Haven't exactly dominated since the 34-24 loss to Texas back in early September. Are you surprised by that point spread? I saw the face. I know. Yes, they beat up on Mississippi State, but other than that, they struggled against UCF. They struggled against Ole Miss for a while. They struggled against A&M, and they struggled against Arkansas last week. Jalen Monroe has settled in as the number 1. However, he has not had a moment that has really showed, I'm that guy here now. You know, you're like Tua did, like the other guys. Tennessee, can they rise to the occasion past it just being a rivalry game? Can you not just keep Alabama close? Drew, thoughts?
Yeah, this obviously isn't the game that we were anticipating last year, where it was number 5 Alabama, number 6 Tennessee, 52-49 shootout. This I don't think will be as exciting as last year's game, but it's still a really, really good game on two teams that, if they win, could really challenge for the SEC and Georgia. Alabama isn't destroying everyone this year, thank God. They had close wins against Arkansas and Texas A&M, so they're really, not as dominant as they have been in the past, and kind of been on a downturn the past couple of years. They're not crazy talented like they have been, but Tennessee is playing very similarly. They're close in games. They lost to Florida earlier in the year. So I think it'll be a close game, but I do see, the Alabama coming out and doing what they do and closing this game out.
I mean, it's never, ever a bad thing to bet on Nick Saban. Like I said, Tennessee, can they rise to the occasion? One loss for the Tennessee coming into this game, and it was against an up and down, hot and cold Florida team, which we have just seen do all kinds of weird results this year. And a close game against A&M, but they've dominated everybody else. So either way, give me Alabama. Give me Alabama, not to cover. I do not like the 8.5. I'm not gonna lie. But I like I like the Tennessee plus 8.5. So if you want to do that, I like that, and I like the over of 48.5. I do. I see this being a bit of a higher scoring game. Well, not a higher scoring game, but I can think it can get up there itself. Moving on. Anything else you want to throw in? Or are we rolling? We rolling?
I think we're rolling. Yeah.
All right. Your ACC matchup. Number 16, Duke, travels to Tallahassee to take on number 4, Florida State. Seminoles open up as minus 13.5 favorites. I guess it's not a first real test because they did play Clemson. But your biggest test so far for Florida State, and I'm going to honestly say a must win for Florida State, because they only have really Miami and Florida left on that schedule. And like we said, Florida up and down, hot, cold. Miami has now lost multiple games, not looking good. Yeah. So I definitely think that is a big thing. For North Carolina, quarterback Riley Leonard, that's the story. North Carolina coach Mike Elko has said he is still day-to-day from the ankle sprain that he suffered against Notre Dame, and that forced him out against NC State. And I respect this. Riley has a bag coming. Okay. One that comes on Sundays, one that comes with signing bonus, one that comes with Carrie Underwood singing my song of the week. Okay. Don't let this kid go out there if he's not 100%. I'm sorry. I don't care if Duke was undefeated. I don't care if Duke was the number 1 team in the country. There are bigger and more important things to worry about than stuff like that. So I absolutely don't want to see that. My bad. Thoughts on the Florida State Duke game?
It's going to be a great game. I think this one's really good. The biggest matchup I think we see here is Florida State's offense, which is number 4 in points per game and number 7 in red zone scoring, versus Duke's defense, which is number 4 in opponents' points per game and number 2 in opponent red zone scoring. And so we see this as the unstoppable force versus the immovable object, where is Florida State going to be able to break down this Duke defense that, without their starting quarterback, was able to just completely push aside NC State, which, isn't as good a team as they have been in recent years, but still very impressive.
Absolutely. Florida State, and I know I said it was a must win. They don't necessarily need to dominate, but they have got to win comfortably for me against Duke. And then they have to hope, and I know I said the schedule company. They also have to root for North Carolina. Like, if we're going to talk about what's upcoming here, and not just in terms of this game, Florida State is looking ahead because they need to beat Duke and they need North Carolina to keep rolling so they can remain undefeated. They can meet up in the ACC championship, and that will give them something that the CFP committee will go, oh, okay, because we like North Carolina, especially with them getting their wide receiver back now. So that's a big one there. Prediction.
I could really easily see Florida State just pulling this one away, but I have a sneaky feeling Duke keeps this really low scoring and sneaks out a win on like a late interception to seal the game. I really do. I think Duke has the facilities on defense to make that offense really miserable and put them in some bad situations.
I agree. And hey, while we're giving out these predictions, make sure you hit us in the chats on Facebook, on YouTube. Let us know what you think about what we're saying so far. It's not going to change anything I say, but I'm just saying. So, all right, let's move. Oh, I almost didn't give a prediction. And this is one of my favorite ones. I got Florida State to win. I don't like the cover once again. I think this might be a closer game. I love the over of 49.5. Lock. Love it. Okay. I can't say it anymore. Okay. Absolutely love this. All right. Our last one, quick, more in-depth reach around preview. Reach around the country. Number 14, Utah at number 18, USC. USC still opens up as -6.5 favorites. I had seen it 7 somewhere else. Coming off a big loss to Notre Dame. Can Caleb Williams and USC rebound off his 3 interception performance? But yes, he had 2 turnovers, interception and the fumble. Oh, I'm sorry. Of those 2 turnovers, or multiple turnovers, only 2 of them, the 1 interception and the 1 fumble, they flipped the field heavy. Okay. In Notre Dame's favor, Notre Dame was able to capitalize and score. Can the USC defense decide that they're a D1 unit as well? I understand that you got put in a tough position, but can you stop somebody? Like, can you get a turnover to and allow the guy that is a Heisman guy? He's already got one of those. I wish I could do something like that up here. Like, he's already got one. He's proven he's done it. Can you give him a short field once? Can you give him a lead? Can you stop making the guy play from behind all the time? It's not fair. And listen, I am a Notre Dame guy. USC is my biggest rival. But what's fair is fair. What's right is right. I love this game too much to spin it any other way. Caleb also needs some help, guys. He's got the worst skill position out of any of them. You could argue any of the Heisman candidates and any of the top teams in the country, minus Georgia, who we should mention. I'm sorry, who lost their tight end now for multiple weeks, whose name escaped me because we're 6 top. Bowers. Yeah, I'm sorry, Bowers. So who's out for multiple weeks. Other than that, you could argue he's got the weakest supporting cast of any of those top teams. So if I had Caleb Williams, we don't lose to Ohio State and we don't lose to Louisville. I'm just saying. Your Bearcats beat up on Oklahoma too. There's another team playing in this game, Utah. Utah been without Cam Rising now for a stretch. It threw a wrench into Utah's plan because this is a really good team. They've rallied behind Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes, but until they were tripped up by my pesky Oregon State Beavers. What do you think about this one?
It's unfortunately USC's offense is not getting a break, as Utah's defense is really, really good. 278 yards given up a game, haven't given up more than 21 points all year. And like you said, that USC defense is atrocious. And while Utah's offense isn't great, their quarterback only has thrown 3 touchdowns all year. It's still, I don't like USC, unfortunately, just because that defense cannot stop anybody. And that Utah defense is really scary. If USC doesn't adjust, I feel like this could go the exact same way as it did against Notre Dame.
You saw my face. Prediction? I'll let you go.
It's hard because USC at home is very, very tough. It's very tough to win. But I like Utah. I really do. It's very hard for me to see basically the same caliber of defense give up more yards than Notre Dame did. I feel like it's going to be this very similar scenario.
I 100% agree with you. Or, I'm sorry, disagree with you. I apologize. I'm saying hi to Mom. Mom's saying hi in the chat. You got to say hi back to Mom. Nope, disagree. Our first one here in terms of this. These are college kids. So the way you think my call out was anything compared to the call out that defense got all week in film practice. And you know what I mean? Not only do I like USC -7. I know it was 6.5, but where I locked it in, it was 7. And I love the over of 53.5. I think this is going to be a high. Well, there's no game that USC is a part of that they're not. It's not a high scoring game. They've gone over in 6 of 7 this year. So I love the over. Lock it. Love the over and love USC -7. Lock them together. Lock them in arms. These are college kids. The defense responds, I'm calling it now, with at least 3 turnovers. They find a way to turn over Utah 3 times, give Caleb some help, and I think Caleb goes, whoa, this Heisman race ain't over yet.
We will see.
Absolutely. Other notable games. Drew, what do you got for me?
Yeah. The first one I got, number 22 in the nation and 6-0 Air Force travels to Navy this weekend. Washington State, who's 4-2.
Pause. Stay tuned for Air Force.
4-2 Washington State travels to number 9 Oregon at a get-back game for them. 7-0 Michigan travels to could potentially be a trap game in 2-4 Michigan State.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned for Michigan.
Number 25 UCLA, who's 4-2, travels to 2-4 Stanford after a comeback win against Colorado. And finally, 2 unranked teams, but 2 teams that with a win could go back into the rankings. 4-2 Clemson goes to 4-2 Miami. What are your thoughts?
I absolutely love that Air Force game, but we will talk about that in a little bit. What was the third game down you mentioned? I apologize.
Number 2 Michigan going to Michigan State.
Michigan State, and the one before that one was
Washington State going to Oregon.
Yeah. Whew. Careful. Anybody who's got to play Oregon. The reason I can't touch on all of those is because you're stepping on my toes, bro. So let's get out of there. We'll tease those for later. So I apologize for slipping up there. We don't share notes. So my man just ran right through some stuff. I got some later. That's teasers, baby. State of Ohio games. Let's give some love to our state. Akron at Bowling Green. Toledo at Miami of Ohio. Buffalo. Yeah, that's a big game there. Buffalo at Kent State. Buffalo coming off of my upset. Western Michigan at Ohio. And Baylor at Cincinnati. Sorry, big bro. Little bro.
I don't want to talk about it.
I understand it's been tough. Big Noon's not there, is it?
God no.
Are you going to the game?
Yes, I am going to the game. It's at noon. It'll be a big crowd. Nippert always shows out. I think will help. Baylor isn't that good of a team, but neither are we. So we will see. It's just the offense. Offense needs to get it together.
We will get together. I want to definitely hit you up pregame while you're there. Maybe we'll take the viewers inside what Nippert is like on game day. Please. I've been there. It is amazing. It is a real deal experience. And then maybe we'll check in with you at halftime. Maybe.
Going okay.
We will not push our luck there. Okay. Let's move on. Teams that we love. The reason I couldn't step on some of what you had going on there in our games around the country. My first one, number 22 Air Force over Navy. Yes. Okay. We got to give some love to one of our to both of those service academies, but all of our service academies. Number 22 Air Force. Yes. Number 22 Air Force. 3 times I'm saying it. Ranked. Got to be honest. We are full Army, beat Navy in this household. A big shout out to our Uncle Kurt, retired military from the Army, former Soldier of the Year, all around badass. And our cousin Danielle, who's also won that award, currently serving in the Marines as well. We love you both. Dee Dee, we love you too. Thank you guys. But I love Air Force. They're my sprinkles. Yep. There's my sprinkle team this week. I love it. And I love the under. Go ahead.
See, I like Air Force to win. I do. I can't love them because as someone who, for you, has a big rivalry with Navy and who, as a Cincinnati fan, played in the American against Navy all the time, we both know how awful it is to play against Navy and that triple option. If you get stuck and you can't be, disciplined and you can't make tackles, it is going to be a long day.
Air Force is one of the top rushing teams in the country. So it's going to be a grind them out game. Spoiler alert, I do like the under. We're going to touch on it in a minute when we get to the bets. But I still love me some Air Force. I like all of the home teams in our big games this week. I like OSU at home. I like Alabama at home. I like Florida State at home. And I like USC at home. I got the feeling some home cooking is going to do everybody good this week. One of the other teams you mentioned, like I said, I stumbled over this. You were stealing my thunder. Oregon, look out, Washington State. I actually kind of like the minus 18.5. And I absolutely think this is a punch your pillow match. Huh? You ever punched your pillow? Does it fight back? No, it just kind of reinflates and allows you to punch it again. I'm sorry, Washington State, but I think you are in trouble. I don't think Oregon State will be kicking a lot of field goals or kicking a lot of extra points. I think it'll be a lot going for 2 and running up the score. So, Washington State, eat your Wheaties, say your prayers, eat your vitamins, and hope Hulk Hogan busts through the wall in your locker room from the 80s Hogan. Any other teams you love?
I agree with you completely on the Oregon. I think that might get ugly in the second half. But the other team I love, Clemson. They are very sloppy on offense sometimes, but they haven't really played bad enough other than the Duke game to lose all year. They only lost to Florida State, was the only loss in overtime recently, and that defense is very, very good. Now, I like Clemson just because of themselves, but I also love Clemson just because Miami seems to just be on a complete downturn since that Georgia Tech loss, and I don't think that they are going to be coming back, right, at least in this game.
I don't disagree with you whatsoever. Let's hit our all U's. Like I said, I don't like to say anything. These are college kids. I don't like to say that I hate them. I don't like to say that I hate their team. All U. Now, from my perspective, it's more of a betting sets. Andrew, just not a good feeling. Who are your all U's this week?
The first one, I would like to just initially apologize to our family, especially my cousin Josh, who's in the chat. My first all U is West Virginia. Oklahoma State seemed to have really turned a corner these past couple of weeks with wins over Kansas and Kansas State. They look good. And in terms of West Virginia, they gave up 41 points to a 2-3 Houston team that didn't even average 30 points. West Virginia's really only wins have been against UTSA and Sam Houston. They lost to Rice in double overtime earlier in the year. The defense is usually good, but Oklahoma State is rolling, and I don't think West Virginia is going to stop them.
That hurts.
Yeah.
So I know that hurt to say.
It does. It hurts.
We have a lot of allegiances in this family. Okay, Notre Dame being one of them, but also West Virginia. Our grandparents, born and raised in West Virginia. A wonderful story to throw out on the pod. Super quick. Grandfather gave up a potential baseball scholarship to come up to Ohio and basically stay here and raise a family with our grandmother, and that's how we're all here. So that's how that happens. So. Moving on to my all U's. Michigan. I made them the number 1 team in the country. I'm a fan of Michigan, like clearly. So let's get that out there. I don't like a rivalry game when your schedule looks like Michigan's right now. If Michigan had 1 or 2 other real tests, I'd be like, hey, they're going to go into Michigan, or they're going to go in with Michigan State. They're going to wipe the floor with them. They haven't had that win. Now the scouting department probably is super ready for Michigan State, but I'm just until I can hold off. Even though I made them number 1, I gave them enough credit. Doesn't mean I got to spend my money on you. I gave you the credit that you want. So yeah, I don't know about the 24.5, the points there. And I know one of the biggest things for me on this, and I was blessed when I was in college to actually go all people. I happened to be there with somebody who was from Michigan. He was a Michigan State guy, not a Michigan, or I'm sorry, he was a Michigan guy, not a Michigan State guy. And OSU Michigan is the biggest thing in the world, and I understand it. It's one of the top 3 rivalries in all of college sports. Not going to go in depth on an argument there. But Michigan State means a lot to the people who live in Michigan. There is no other rivalry in Ohio that matches what Ohio State Michigan has, because none of the other teams in Ohio are as good. I'm sorry, that was your. I'm sorry. I'm just saying.
Understood.
I'm just saying. So no one matches that. Michigan State is always a good team. Michigan State means an absolute lot to those people. Obviously, I love all the home teams. So that obviously means that's all you on all the away teams. I do like that Tennessee points. I did say that. But when it comes to win, nope, I don't like Penn State. I don't like Tennessee. I don't like Duke. I don't like Utah. And you know how much I like USC. Sorry, bro. You're Bearcats. All you. They're not playing great at the moment. They get a Baylor team that's also not playing great at the moment. I would love to see your Bearcats bounce back. Maybe I'm giving them full pod mojo to just come back and be able to give all the head slabs back. And I want them to get rolling in their first season in the Big 12. But I like Baylor here. Sorry, my guy. I love you. Moving on. Let's make some money. How's that sound? Even though I hit boxing, that would be the wrong B word. See what happens when you go live? All of a sudden, you just start messing everything up. All right, your college bets. I mentioned some of them before already. Florida State and the Duke on the over. USC -7 in the over of 53.5. Those three put together. Yes, I wrote it on the board, ladies and gentlemen.
Ooh.
Snap it, take a picture of it, write it in. Those three together, plus 492 on FanDuel, plus 595 on Bet365. Anyone want to guess where I blocked mine in? Yeah, obviously, with the plus 535 or plus 595. Put those in, okay? Lock it in. That was my three. I locked that in. Money where my mouth is. I did not sprinkle Air Force in because I sprinkled Air Force in on another one. I like the Air Force sprinkle on the money line of -380. I don't like the -10.5. I wouldn't touch that. And I love the under. We talked about it. These are running teams, option teams. This is going to be a grind them out. So I love the under of 34.5 too. I have sprinkled that in with some other stuff. We don't need to get into my degeneracy. Bowling Green. Yes, baby, back for another week. Bowling Green takes on Akron. Lock in. Sorry, Akron. Sorry, Aunt Chris. Upsets. You noticed them. They were there. They're on the board. I love the Baylor Bears over your Bearcats. Plus 138 on FanDuel. Plus 150 on Bet365. I love it. I put some on it. Minnesota. Yes. Plus 146. Plus 160 on Bet365. Over 24 Iowa. Yes, I'm calling that one. Iowa lost another tight end. They've lost their quarterback. Give me Minnesota. Come on. My last one, give me Auburn. Plus 205 on FanDuel and Bet365. Over Ole Miss. There they are. Lock them in. The worst graphic you've ever seen in your entire life. Lock them in. 100% honesty. I wanted the whiteboard. So I got home. My son has this giant magnet board that I also thought was dry erase marker because I've seen him do stuff on it. So I grabbed it. I was going to set it up right here for myself, lock it in all nice. I go to write on it. It's not dry erase. I almost ruined it. That would have been the end of the podcast. That would have been the end of everything. So I apologize. And shout out to my girl. She's also going to be mad because I wiped the grocery list off. So I'm definitely in trouble. Hey, you got to do what you got to do for the pod, man. Okay. Pod first, right? No. So those are your upsets. Those are your bets. Lock them in. I did. Okay. So popcorn out. Yep. On the fly, we're doing a change because this is what we do here. Okay. Boom. Lock it in. You see it there. Yep. He zips up the coat. Batman is here.
It's time.
It is absolutely time. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to hit the soccer time. Okay. Don't tune out. Stay here. We've already got you. You love us. Okay. Stay with us. We're going to learn some stuff today. Big soccer international wise weekend and week, and a big one coming up back domestically. But first, we're going to hit on the topic that we talked about in our first podcast, which was the friendlies that the United States men's national team had. One against Germany, one against Ghana. Start with Germany. 3-1 loss to Germany. The Americans got on the board with a 27-minute wonder strike from Captain America, Christian Pulisic. Boom. Tiger Eyes. Tiger Eyes puts it over if you're staying with us. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. 38-minute. Ilgi Gundogan tied it up. And then halftime hit, and that was pretty much it. Germany dominated the second half, scoring 2 more in the 58 and 61 minute to cap a mostly dominating win for the Germans. A wonderful flannel worn by first-team German coach Julian Nagelsmann. If you have not seen it, just literally go to your X search bar and just search Germany coach flannel. It is amazing. Thoughts on the Germany game?
Unfortunately, it kind of went exactly as I expected, but a lot worse than I thought. We got that early goal that I predicted, and I knew Germany was going to come and press the entire rest of the game. Unfortunately, the defense could not handle the pressure at all, and it really went downhill from there, especially when we kind of turned defensive near the second half.
Yeah, that groan was all of us throughout a lot of the second half. Disappointing. I know 3-1 is not the biggest score line, but I really wanted this. I did not expect this to win, but I wanted this to be close. I wanted this to be better, and we got dominated in the second half. Defensive errors all around. The counterattack looked crisp and it looked good in the first half. And then there was just nothing in the second half. We'll touch. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and there's a theme, especially in the next game as well. There's a theme of one person that was taken off and the attack all of a sudden stopped working.
Say his name.
Giovanni Reyna, the attacking midfielder, came off at half, obviously due to, making sure he didn't get injured. He just got back from injury, so we're just kind of limiting him on minutes. But as soon as he left, that attack completely died out. And you could tell that the midfield was getting overrun and there was no outlet for our attack. And it just seemed like one-way traffic the whole rest of the way.
This team misses Tyler Adams.
Yes.
That is just what it is. I am not ignoring you. I am doing a formation on the fly. I want to show something to everybody here in a second. Traditionally, when Gio's not there, they try to put Chris into that number 10 role. You know how much I hate that. It's just not where Chris excels on that national team.
On the wing.
Right. It's on the wing. One of the things that I do think is fair to also mention, though, like I said, Tyler Adams being out. But see, just take a look here, okay? This is just the most basic thing I can show you, okay? What we're talking about is this spot right here, okay? That cam position, center, your attacking midfielder, who basically is your point guard, okay? The two guys will sit behind him, these two guys right here, okay? Making sure I had 11 circles on the field. It'd be horrible if I didn't. Coach Freeman. That cam position it's your point guard, okay? The United States has traditionally not had one of those. We have one, and what he's able to do when he is on the field is dictate and be everywhere. He scored his goal in the Ghana game by being in the right places where those positions be. Every time Reyna has come off, the attack has just fizzled. It's just trying to kick the long ball forward. If you watch your kids play soccer, you've seen this a million times, and that's what it turns into. So we'll switch to the Ghana game. Come out of the weeds a little bit. A 4-0 win for the Americans. Dominated early, pressed early, and it paid off with 4 first-half goals. Gio Reyna finding the net first, playing in that 10 role, finding the open pockets, and then the ball finding him at the right place and at the right time. And that happens when you're in those pockets. That's absolutely what happens there. They dominated. They should have dominated.
Plain and simple. Yeah, no, that was probably the best comeback from that 3-1 loss to Germany that we could have had. I noticed that we had the exact same tactics in the first and second half as we did against Germany, and the same results happened. We looked really, really good in the first half against Germany. We looked really, really good in the first half against Ghana, and then once the second half hits, you have to take Giovanni Reyna out. You don't have anybody else due to Malik Tillman being hurt that could fill that position, so you bring in a guy who's much more defensive, and the attack goes out the window. And fortunately for us in this Ghana game, we scored 4 in the first half and kind of took the wind out of their sails before they could do any damage in the second half.
Absolutely. I also want to point out Johnny Cardoso, Christopher Lund got the start. We wanted to see some rotation in there as well, and we were able to see that. CCV, Cameron Carter-Vickers got some minutes. Maloney, Weston, Pepe, Brendan Aronson, Luca Del Torre, all came in and made an appearance in that Ghana game, which was good. We wanted to see the depth. But you're right. Every time Gio comes out, and I'm sorry, and I think it's fair to criticize him. This is supposed to be Brendan Aronson's spot. He is supposed to come in as a sub, and he is supposed to take in for Gio, and there is not supposed to be a letdown. He is supposed to fit in right there, right where Gio plays, and continue to take this up. Sorry for the horrible demonstration there. That touchscreen Thursdays, but the absolute worst version of it. But he's supposed to be there. It's supposed to happen. I don't like what's happening there, and it's not encouraging for the future that we have this such lack of depth.
Yeah,
correct.
I completely agree. If I think about all the players that are on this national team, obviously you put 11 on the field. There are probably 14 players that I could name that if they were to play any game, I'd be comfortable with. And I feel like as a national team, you need a lot more than that to really be competitive further on and later in tournaments when your guys are getting tired and you need to replace guys. If you only have like 3 subs that could keep the same level of talent on the field, that's an issue.
Absolutely. And I mean, depth has been an issue on this national team since before you were born and able to watch it. It's better than ever. It is, but when you get if you only want to beat Ghana, cool. And this is no disrespect to Ghana, or if you only want to beat some of our CONCACAF opponents, in our region, fine. That's not what we want. Okay, that's not. We want to beat Germany. We want to compete on the World Cup level and be for real. So I mean, that's where that goes. Going forward, any other thoughts?
I think I just have one question for you because you said this team desperately needs Tyler Adams. Who do you take out? Because obviously you have Weston McKennie and Yunus Musa back there, and we just ranted about how crucial Giovanni Reyna is. You need him as a defensive anchor when you're playing teams like Germany, but which one are you taking out there?
I mean, this is fair because I scream every time somebody says this guy should be an all-star. Well, then take somebody off. Don't just tell me who you want to add.
Not to put you on the spot, but
Weston right now. And it's no McKinney, Weston McKinney. We love you, bro. You look up Weston McKinney torn jersey, like that. The man bleeds for the national team, literally. But I just, unless he will play that role, which he can, but the problem is when you have him and Musa, they're such gifted, talented, attacking players that they tend to drift. But I honestly think you would look at the two of them and look how they performed in the World Cup. And I know Adams was phenomenal in the World Cup, but he is limited going forward. He is. He just is. So I think I would have to say Weston, I guess, but I honestly think it would probably just be more to ask one of them to sit more in that holding role, which that would be these two right here, to kind of sit in front of these back four and to help them and to kind of help pick out passes. But I think that's Weston's future. I think Musa is a box to box. He's going to be a box to box for the rest of his life. But that would be, I guess, my guess, or my guy. But in all honesty, I would just have Adams on the bench. And if things aren't going right, you have that lead against Germany. You realize they equalized. The second half isn't going on good. Okay, I'm going to sacrifice one of these guys, a Weston or Musa, and I'm going to put Adams in. And then from there, now I'm back to where I was in the World Cup anyways, which is not a strategy we disliked, which was to kind of try to get it out to Chris, get it out to Weah, get it up to Florian, which we didn't have a guy like that in the World Cup, or Pepe. So get it up to a guy like that. Hopefully you can get a counter attack, get a goal. So, which we did against Germany. We showed it. We couldn't compete. And that would be the thing. If you're going to sacrifice Reyna, that might be the key. If you're going to sacrifice Reyna, if you have to, Adams goes in for Reyna sub on the board, but then Musa or McKinney move up and Adams slots in, something like that. We are so far in the forest, we can't see the trees. My guy. Okay. So let's move on from there. A nice little story. So I definitely want to bring this up. Davy and Kimbrough. If you haven't heard, where have you been? The youngest professional player in U.S. history at the age of 13 for USL Championship side Sacramento Republic. If you do know who he is, kind of in June of 2023 here, he burst on the scene as a Red Bull Academy fill-in in the U13 Cup, helping them win and becoming the first MLS Academy to win the tournament and being named tournament MVP. I know you might go, what? Like, the biggest problem we have with American soccer is the academies around Europe and around the world, and even in Mexico, are hundreds of years old. These MLS academies are 10 to 15 years old, 20 years old sometimes, maybe tops. So you'll find a couple maybe older. I'm not sure. When they go into tournaments against U sides from other countries, they tend to kind of get beat up. They really do. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. So it was really good to see them win, but that's kind of where he came up. But made a cap in October, a cap or an appearance for his team. Dual citizen. It is worth pointing out. He has been invited up to the U.S. identification camps, and he was also called up by the U.S. U6, the Mexico U16 team. So an awesome story, and something that you see all the time over in Europe. These academy kids coming in and playing with first teamers, something you just don't see here in America. So I guess my question overall, as much as we love this, how do we make sure, Drew, that we don't have another Freddie Adu? And if you don't know who Freddie Adu is, Freddie Adu signed with DC United when he was 14 in 2006. He was named the next Pele. That never even came close. Not only did he not become a star, unfortunately, he really never even panned out to be a quality player. How do we avoid that? As nice of a great story as this is.
I think he already has an advantage in terms of when Freddie Adu was coming up, there was such little talent in American soccer that he was so focused on and put under so much pressure to be great.
Yes.
That I think probably he caved into it. But I think the second major key for at least him, and what we've noticed by Americans going to Europe as well, is going to the right situation. Because, you always hear of these stories of a lot of these kids, getting calls from Barcelona or Madrid or these top sides and jumping at the chance because it's such a big club, but will never, ever get an opportunity to grow or learn. And now we're seeing with a lot of our younger kids making the smarter decision, maybe starting in a smaller a club, a smaller team in a lower division, and really getting those useful minutes on actual professional teams and not just wasting away in youth teams of these top clubs.
100%. 100,000%, 1,000,000% correct. There's a reason we do Americans abroad, because there are Americans all over Europe, but it isn't just in the top flight of football, the top flight. It isn't just every first division. There's guys everywhere. There's guys who make up there's guys who are a part of the good makeup of our national team that are not starters or don't play in, necessarily first division or, first tier sides. And that's okay. We want those guys there. It's better than them not playing. What do I yell at you? And it's a text, obviously, it's a snap, but still, what do I say to you every single time you send me a transfer possibility for a guy? Just
go where you're going to play.
Go where you're going to play. That's all I care about. Are you going to play? It is okay. Then go. Then that's good. That's what I think is good. So
especially at a young age.
Absolutely. So, hey, Damian, we wish you all of the best of luck. I hope we steal you from the Mexican national team. 100%. I hope we cap tie you and you come and play for us. If you don't, I wish you all of the best. We'll see you multiple times when we play against you for USA versus Mexico. But just an awesome story. Definitely something we had to bring up and touch on. All right, let's keep it rolling. This week was Euro 2024 qualifiers. If you don't know what that is a competition between all of the nations of Europe. You have to qualify to get there. We've got some teams who have qualified so far. Host Germany, we know how they looked. Spain, Scotland, Scotty the Body McTommy, France, England, Turkey, Belgium, Austria, and Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo. Any surprises?
No, not really. A lot of these teams you see were in groups that were very favorable, and they put the work in, and they got the results they needed.
I mean,
Pretty
enough said.
straightforward.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. I absolutely 100% 1000 agree. I know I'm doing it again. I 100% agree. What else do you want me to say? Guaranteed at least a playoff spot. What that means is exactly what it says. They take the second and sometimes third place teams and put them against each other, and those teams will then earn a qualifying spot. Those teams, a little bit longer of a list. Georgia. No, not that Georgia. The country. Greece, Netherlands, Italy, Croatia, Serbia, Denmark, Finland. I don't want to just rattle names without taking a pause there. Kazakhstan, Israel, Luxembourg, and Bosnia Herzegovina. Surprises, and I'm going to throw mine out first. My Greeks are there trying to make it. Italy absolutely needs to make this tournament after missing out on the World Cup. You're right. The last two World Cup. Who else? Surprises for you in that group?
I think Kazakhstan being one of those top groups. I know a lot of smaller teams do make it, and like Luxembourg usually makes the Euros, but it seemed like Kazakhstan, who you never hear, even in European competitions, at least having a spot, a chance to qualify is a really good story, honestly.
Absolutely, 100%. And Israel as well. We are not going to get into politics. Too important of a conversation, I think, to actually talk about that kind of stuff when we're sitting here talking about bets and stuff like that. It's just certain conversations are bigger than sports. But in soccer, when things happen like this, it happened with the Ukrainian national team and their qualifying. People rally around their national team. You know what I mean? It's not all countries are like America, where there's 30 NFL teams and 30 MLB teams and 30 soccer teams and then hockey. And there's not all of these other sports. There's only one or two, a handful of sports, and soccer being the biggest. People tend to put their their spirit and their faith into the national team because it takes them out of the bad situation going on there. So I would not be surprised if Israel qualified or made some noise. I really wouldn't. They're obviously not going to be able to probably play at home. Neither was Ukraine. They kind of had to find some venues to play in. But in terms of soccer, in terms of football, that Israel story, it'll be something to look for there as well. But there are some bigger teams in there. Croatia, that golden generation is hanging on there. But we'll see there. Some teams that are already eliminated. Some ones that'll make sense, but there's one in here that I'm gonna get on my soapbox about. Cyprus, Gibraltar, North Macedonia, who did qualify for the last Euros, almost qualified for the World Cup. Malta, Latvia, Sweden, Lithuania, Northern Ireland, San Marino, Belarus, Andorra, and Liechtenstein. Surprises before I go off on Sweden.
No surprises, but I will say San Marino this past week got their first professional goal in 2 years against Denmark. And honestly, like you were saying, how a country can rally around, the absolute explosion on social media when that happened was unreal, and it was really cool to see.
One of the most awesome moments of, I think it was the last Euros, correct? When North Macedonia qualified. Mm-hmm. They had never qualified for anything, and they scored, and you could see it on the players, you can see it on the fans. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. It's worth searching. I will argue, because I do watch all sports. I watch the NFL, I watch the NBA, I watch the NHL, I watch Premier League, I watch soccer, I watch international soccer, I watch tennis, I watch MMA. There are very few things that will touch you and will give you those kind of feelings when you watch some of these countries where they've never qualified for anything, which means every year or every 2 or 3 or 4 years, they go into these groups with these teams for their country's entire history, and they've never won and they've never made it out. So to see these and to see this happen, it's amazing. So hey, definitely shout out to San Marino. Congrats. Absolutely congratulations. Build on it, please. I hope so. And hopefully we'll see them as we get ready for not Euros, World Cup qualifying. Sweden. Now I'm gonna rattle some names here, so we're back in the forest. But the reason I'm doing this is because I didn't even need to look up all of some of these names. They just rattled off the tongue. Victor Lindelof, who plays for my Manchester United, Emil Forsberg, Victor Gyarkos, Anthony Alenga, Cleason, Carlson, Hugo Larsson. It is Sweden, some of these names. These are all veteran, experienced players with European League and international experience. There is no excuse that you're not in a playoff race spot. Period. And I just so you know how much we care about soccer, I'm not even ranting about our own country. I'm ranting about Sweden. There's no excuse for you to not be in a playoff spot. There's too much talent on that team when some of these other teams that are still in a guaranteed playoff spot. I'm sorry. Sweden has more talent than Georgia. Sweden has more talent than currently than Kazakhstan, Israel, Luxembourg, Bosnia. You could argue, depending on who is called up for the Serbian team, who was playing for Denmark right now. Obviously, we know who plays for Denmark. Finland. Like, you have the talent to compete with these teams. So to not be in a playoff spot somewhere, Zlatan is very, very upset. So I'm just sorry.
I think he's just chilling somewhere, honestly.
Zlatan is GOAT. All right. We're a pro Dion pod, and we're also a very pro Zlatan Ibrahimovic pod here. South American qualifying is also going on, also known as
CONMEBOL.
Absolutely. We will be going to that guy for those kind of pronunciations. It started last week, actually Thursday when we were doing this pod. There were games that night. Some notable ones: Colombia 2-2 with Uruguay. Argentina 1-0 over Paraguay. And Brazil 1-1. So some mix-ups there. Messi gets a win, but Brazil get going out and only getting a point. Tuesday's notables, which is this past Tuesday: Argentina 2-0 over Peru, and Brazil losing 2-1 to Uruguay. But bigger news than the game, not only does Brazil only get 1 point out of this window, but the bigger news: Neymar Jr. Injured, torn ACL and meniscus in the left knee, leaving the 31-year-old's career in jeopardy. Before we go back to Neymar, quickly, thoughts on that? Thoughts on the South American international window?
Brazil not only getting 1 point out of the window is crazy. They usually top the group easily every year, especially considering this past World Cup they were dominant and they were the favorites running in. So seeing them struggle like this and now losing a key member of their team is really concerning.
And it's tough. 100%. I mean, even without, we just take Neymar and put it over here for a second, them only coming out with a point. If it wasn't for Neymar's injury, Brazil would not be happy. To the people, and they still aren't. But we can't not talk about Neymar. I now believe, and I'm hot take alert. I absolutely believe that even though he signed a $90 million, there was a $90 million transfer fee into the Saudi league. It's reported he's making somewhere upwards of $2 to $3 million in salary. I don't think he ever plays in the Saudi league again. Not because I don't think he plays again, but I think this is it for international Europe soccer Neymar. I think it's done. Cue up the MLS and retirement league music. Oh my goodness, the glass broke. Here comes Stone Cold. I think that's where Neymar ends up. I think it's a right move. We're a little critical of the MLS. I call it the retirement league because most of the best players from that league are retired players from outside of America. They've retired from big European football and they come here. It's facts. There are quality players. I'm not dissing any. It is what it is. But I think Neymar makes his way here, which is awesome. I'd love to go see him. I can't wait to see Messi if tickets didn't go up by 700%. But we'll get there. But it would be great to see Messi, and it'll be great to see Neymar when he comes. Most importantly, Neymar, we send our love. Heal up quickly and get back to being a player that only you can be with your flash technique and flair. So all love to you, Neymar. Get better soon, please. We want to see you back out there. I want to see you here. And if you go back and you can play for the Saudi League and prove me wrong, I'd love it. But I'd also love to see you come here because I think that's where he ends up. Anything else there?
Not really, but an ACL tear and a meniscus tear at 31 is really tough, especially the amount of injuries maybe he's had, and also just the amount of wear and tear on those legs that he had to have gone through.
It's also fair to point out, and if you're just like, I know this Neymar name, but I don't know what you're talking about necessarily in terms of style of play. Neymar is a flashy player. He's a more just flashy dribbling tricks and stuff like that. It would be kind of the equivalent. I want to try to
Jason Williams.
Imagine if all of a sudden Jason Williams broke his arm and he couldn't really pass anymore. Imagine if Steph Curry all of a sudden couldn't shoot threes and he was just kind of only a mid-range and layup guy. You'd be like, man, it's not Steph Curry anymore. What is that? And that's what a slowed down, beat up Neymar would look like. So we hope he gets back to full strength. Neymar, we're with you. See you change. EPL time. The eye roll is not to you fans. It's to this man unzipping his jacket, showing that awful Chelsea jersey. EPL, English Premier League, is back in action. It's where our favorite teams lie. We think it's the best league in all of Europe. So we're going to dive right into our EPL preview. Our first game, Everton at Liverpool, Saturday, 7:30 a.m., the Merseyside Derby, as it's referred to. Everton come in 16th, only 3 points off of the relegation zone. Very funny Snapchat I sent my brother. A fan found an Everton jersey in a store overseas where they already had the championship, which is the league under the Premier League badges sewn onto the jersey. Liverpool sit fourth in the last automatic qualifying spot for the Champions League, only 3 points adrift from leaders Spurs. Drew, thoughts on the Merseyside Derby?
Yeah, if you're up that early at 7:30 a.m., I'm sure there's not much else on. So put it on, throw it on, watch some soccer. Liverpool, obviously doing much better than they were last year, but they have been prone to slip and been prone to give up very early goals. So Everton, they get an early goal, they sit back, they defend the rest of the game. Could make things interesting.
Absolutely. I can't promise I'll be up on the 7:31, but I'll at some point have rolled over and we'll be throwing it on and listening to it. Our second game we're going to touch on, Brighton Hove Albion at Manchester City, Saturday at 10 a.m. You'll be up for that. Put it on one TV while game day's on the other. It's what I do. Third place City versus sixth place Brighton. Brighton can overtake City with a win. City coming off of 2 losses in a row. Drew, talk to me.
Yeah, Man City obviously haven't looked like the Man City of the past couple of years, but unfortunately, Brighton have also been kind of slumping. They haven't won a match since September 24th. They really haven't looked like the team that we've seen these past, couple weeks, even last season. But we've also seen them absolutely dominate teams and look really, really good. So it could be very, very high quality and a very good match, depending on who shows up.
Full disclosure, we will be neutral, but there are just some allegiances that bleed out in football that we just can't hide. Go Brighton. I hope you beat City. But it should be a great game. It really should. But yeah, that he hit everything right on the head. Our next one. Good. Yeah, there it is. There, just take the jacket off.
Take it off. Okay.
Throw it proud. Put the 3 up. All of the above. Arsenal, Chelsea, Saturday, 12:30.
Yes.
The Northwest London Derby. Can 11th place Chelsea continue their form and prove they are back in the mix? Can Arsenal build off the 1-0 victory over Manchester City, keep the pressure on Spurs, and keep the title race open? The floor is yours.
Now, we see Arsenal is playing super, super well. Beat the defending champions 1-0. Chelsea, obviously, 11th in the table, very much, lower. However, I have 2 points. One, rivalry games mean nothing when it comes to standings. Absolutely nothing, especially when the lower team is at home.
The first game we previewed, 16th versus 4th. It doesn't matter. Go ahead.
Second point, while Chelsea had a very tough start to this season, and that's the reason why they're low. 3 straight wins. They are pulling it together. They really seem to be connecting and really understanding the manager's vision on the team. And being at home, being in front of that raucous crowd, and really, hopefully, playing for the badge, at least in my saying, hopefully, they can pull it out. But I could also honestly see Arsenal winning this 2-3-0 if we don't show up like we have in the past couple of games.
Play for the badge in front, burn the boats, win one for the Gipper. BYOG. Bring your own guts.
Insert phrase here.
Should be a great game. 100%. Yeah. It should be an amazing game. I look forward to it. More on that later. Teaser. Our last game to quickly preview, because I wasn't going to let you get all the way through all of that without shoving my own team in everyone's face again. Manchester United at Sheffield United, Saturday at 3. There's only one question. I really can't lose to Sheffield, can I?
I don't think so, but unfortunately,
I'm looking at the mic. I can't, right? This team has just been so up and down. Okay. Let's do one of my favorite parts of this segment as well. Let's put some bets in for soccer. Okay. We don't tend to bet on the international window. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just not something I'll touch on. Maybe towards World Cup time or bigger tournaments time, we can float some things. We can put some parlays on. Just the international window. There's no way. I don't think it's smart money, and I'm not going to sit here and give you bets for the sake of it. If I wouldn't be willing to put my money where my mouth is, I won't open up my Bet365 live on here. I don't even know if we're allowed to do that, so I don't want to mess with that. But here's what I like. Go big or go home. Okay? I got a 5-team parlay. Put it all together. It's basically all the games, well, mostly the games we talked about. I'm going to write it down. Back to the horrible whiteboard. But I like Liverpool, Manchester City, Newcastle, Manchester United, and Tottenham. Okay? All together to win. Okay? Put that together. That's plus 439. That's only on Bet365 because soccer is not on a lot of the other betting websites. It's on Bet365. That's why I love it. It's the only place I bet the footy. Put those together.
Trying to get a sponsorship over here.
I mean, listen, if they want to, please shout out Bet365. You want to hook us up, please. I use you all the time. You can check my activity. But I love them together. I love it all together. I think it's worth it. I mean, it's after the international weekend. We tend to see some of the bigger clubs respond after that international weekend. I like that all together. I'm giving up. I'm not writing it down. Once again, Liverpool, Manchester City, Newcastle, Manchester United, Tottenham. Next week, I'm going to put that on a graphic. So we'll put that together. But all of those teams together, you go in your Bet365 app, find soccer, UK list. It is a little difficult to get there, but put that together. If you want to touch some upsets, shout out to my son's teacher. She is from London. She is a West Ham fan. I like West Ham to draw, plus 260. Win is plus 280 over Aston Villa. I like flirting with it. Hold on to your seats. Chelsea, a draw, plus 240. A win, plus 210.
Yes.
Spoiler alert, I got money on the draw.
Fair enough. I'll take it.
And the win. I may have put a little bit on each. I may have hedged. I don't care. Don't chase your losses. I didn't lose yet. I'm not chasing anything. So I did it. I'm riding with you. I think you can get it. I think you can get a result out of that game. Yes, I put Manchester United in a parlay. Yes, I will be disappointed. Yes, I will be allowing 11 men on a field at 10 o'clock in the morning decide how I'm going to feel for the rest of the weekend. Yes, I am. And that's before the college football even starts. Thank goodness Notre Dame's off this week. Quick. All right. So let's jump into one last one. We had it up earlier. Back up. Only one real big thing to hit live action wise in terms of Americans abroad. Juventus at AC Milan Sunday at 2:45. an historic Italian rivalry in the Serie A. AC Milan come in first in Serie A, and Juve in third, Juve as they're called. Juve could close the gap to 1 point and also allow both of their biggest rivals, Inter Milan, to take the lead and top spot in Serie A with a win. The real reason we're hitting this game. Touch it.
Yes, we have Americans on both sides of this. So it really isn't any side loss when you're looking at it as an American. On AC Milan, you have Christian Pulisic, who's been playing amazing for AC Milan. You also have Yunus Musa, who's been getting steady time and really, really impressing according to the AC Milan coaching staff. So looking for those. But if you're looking at Juventus, we have Timothy Weah and Weston McKennie, now at least according to the last game, both playing at the same time, not coming in for each other. So hopefully we can see two Americans play off against two Americans for 90 minutes. But if not, let's look for a good game.
I don't remember the last time I was this excited for, and like I said, I do circle in all around the globe in terms of watching soccer. Our base is the EPL. It's what we both watch. Is where our favorite teams are. So it is our league. I don't know if I've been excited for a non-Manchester United, non-US men's national team game than this, because of 4 players possibly starting in this game, and it's awesome. I can't wait. I know it's at Sunday at 2:45. I know your football is on. My football's on. There will absolutely be a stream dedicated to
Throw it on the phone. Throw it on the phone.
Throw it on the phone. All right. Our last one. I don't have the tissues. It's my turn to cry on this one. You already know this week, and if you don't, former United States men's national team captain and player and Toronto FC midfielder Michael Bradley decided to hang up the boots upcoming here at the end of the season. Michael Bradley, at the age of 36, will hang up his boots. Will put them away. Born in Princeton, New Jersey, to parents Lizzie and Bob Bradley, former United States men's national team head coach, Michael started his career with the New York Metro Stars before they actually became who they are now known as, which are the New York Red Bulls. A highly intelligent player, outstanding leader, a person who throughout his entire career, mostly in the center of midfield, could play any kind of center mid that you wanted, an attacking mid, a holding mid who could sit back in front of the defense and pick passes out, a box-to-box guy, literally going from your box to their box back and forth. Like I said, a deep-lying playmaker, but intelligent leader. Those are the 2 biggest things that stand out there. Michael not only dominated the MLS, but he also played overseas. One of our first, not first, but one of our newer crop of Americans who got some heavier time overseas, playing at Heerenveen in the Dutch Eredivisie, Borussia Mönchengladbach in Germany in the Bundesliga, Aston Villa on loan in the English First Division, Chievo and Roma in the Italian Serie A and B, and I'm sorry for anyone if I butchered those names, but then, and for the majority of his career where he was known in Toronto for Toronto FC. Earned his first cap for the United States men's national team May 26, 2003 against Venezuela in Cleveland. 151 appearances for the United States men's national team, 17 goals, 23 assists. Yes, I'm reading off the iPad because I have to, or I will at some point get emotional. Runner-up for the 2009 Confederations Cup, runner-up for the 2011-2019 Gold Cup, winner's medal of the 2007 and 2017 Gold Cup, and most importantly, and I think Michael would agree, a member of the 2010 and 2014, I'm getting goosebumps, U.S. Men's National World Cup squad, starting all 4 games in 2010, all 4 games in 2014, scoring a very important goal in the 2010 World Cup. Michael Bradley was my captain. I know Clint Dempsey wore the captain a lot. I know Landon Donovan did some time. I know Timmy Howard did. But for me, when that team trotted out there, he had the nickname of Lex Luthor in Italy because he is bald headed and has the beard. But he was always my captain. He was always someone that did that even when he wasn't wearing the band, he was a captain. I'm going to speak for both of us because I'm not letting him have anything on this one, little bro, because I watched Michael Bradley's entire career. So I have been a Michael Bradley fan. I was sad he wasn't brought along as a veteran in this last World Cup. I understood why, but absolutely. Michael Bradley, thank you for everything that you have done for this game and for this national team. You helped advance American soccer more than you are given credit for. And in the future, we will look back on you as a pivotal person that took this national team and took the game in this country to where it is now, where players are accepted at European clubs. And you weren't the first. You probably don't have the best stats, but you were a rock and a foundation in that. Drew and I love you. The U.S. soccer community loves you, and we owe you our biggest gratitude. We wish you and your lovely life, Amanda, and your two kids the absolute best and the absolute best in the future. And I absolutely looking forward to you coaching in the MLS and then taking over the United States men's national team job, just like your father did. Michael Bradley, we salute you. We love you. Absolutely. Thank you for everything that you have done for this game.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you. All right. Let's wrap it up. We did pretty much hit everything that you possibly could. A couple things to throw at you right here at the end. Let me pull down this. Coming up this weekend, Sunday, on the 216 Sports Network YouTube page, the Westside Lightning. You will see them again in action. Also, November 5th at Cleveland Central Catholic High School at 4 p.m., the middle school all-star football game. I might be there. This guy might be there. To be determined. Schedules haven't been set yet, but either way, check that out on the 216 Sports Network YouTube page and Facebook page. While you're there, scroll back, watch our episodes, watch the live broadcast we just did this past weekend from Baldwin Wallace Stadium. And also, while you're there, check out Rico McGee in the Sports Minute. My man Rico bringing you anything NFL, NBA, MLB, NCAA, doesn't matter. Almost daily, he gets it out to you. If it's important, Rico's talking about it. So just check it out. Like, subscribe, follow. Like, subscribe, follow all of us on the 216 Sports Network YouTube and Facebook page. Give us a shout. Give us a holla. Comment with us. Drew, the people have asked. So we got to let them know. Within a couple weeks, we will be going live under our own show, under our own name. Shout out to 4th and 15 with Mel and Smooth for having us as guests in their house, but they're getting a little tired of us. We're eating all the food and we're not paying any rent. So it's time to get out on our own. And there is no problem with that. But look out for that because we will get a name in. There's legality, there's lawyers involved, there's network execs, these things got to get worked through channels. So when we get that together, we will absolutely have that for you. You can look out for that. Don't laugh at me like that, bro. Other than that, I am Ken Straub. That is Andrew Straub. And as always, please remember to love yours.